Now that we have generated the process using the process modeler and enhanced the screens using the app designer, let's go and add some integration and business logic. And you will do that using the integration builder. You can open up the integration builder from the Freedom Manager. And when you click on the integration builder, it will open up in a separate tab. There are really three sections for the integration builder. On the left hand side, you would see the projects as well as the toolbox. The toolbox has got a whole series of what we call as action blocks, which would be logic, utilities, web service, so on and so forth. And each action block has got a series of actions. In this case, the logic action block has got actions such as if else, loop, repeater, so on and so forth. Um, you have a few actions out of the database adapter. You can connect to multiple systems like the Salesforce, SAP, Oracle, so on and so forth. And you use these actions to drag and drop into the central area, which is the canvas, and build your logic to get the data out of your backend systems, apply some logic, manipulate it, and give it to the app. The central area is the canvas area where you would do that. And on the right hand side is where you would have the mapping section. In this mapping section on the top, you have something called as a BOSS, a Business Object Service. This is a service which would get data from whatever systems you need to manipulate it and give it to the app that you built in the process model and the app designer. On the central right hand side, you also have a area where you map the rules. You can also extend those rules by adding your own expression. You have an operator that you can apply certain manipulation rules on the mapping itself. And on the lower right hand side corner, it will give you the mapping in terms of an XPath and expression. On the menu, you have the file, which will give you all the important aspects of a business object service. The BOS menu will give you some options around settings and configurations around it. You can also test it out, as well as there are some templates available out of the box that you can use right away. So let's go and create a sample BOS for the timesheet app that we created out of the process model and the designer. For this example, we have a few created. I'm going to create one for the timesheet entry. So for the timesheet entry, let's go and pick. I'm going to pick up an action SQL insert out of the Freedom database, and that's because we are going to use the database out of the Freedom platform itself to update the timesheet data that you get from the app. So I'm going to put timesheet SQL insert as the action. It's linking me to the database that I already have, and I know that I have a table called as time entry. So I'm going to pick up the time entry table and click OK. You would see that on the left hand side it brought in the time entry table data. There is some inputs that I can use. It gives me all the columns from the table. So I'm going to go and add a few variables that I'm going to get from the app itself. The first one would be an employee ID, which I'm going to capture based on the person who's logging in. So let's put in some description. The second variable would be date, because I like to capture the date on which the hours are being entered. And finally, the third input being hours itself. So let's put the hours. And I can pick any data type I want. In this case, I'm going to just pick number. And now that I have these three values, I'm going to map the input of the business object service, which is coming in from the app, to the employee ID. You will see the mappings and expression over here. I can go and edit it if I want to, apply more operators if I want to. In this example, I'm not going to do any more additions to it. So I'm going to click on add. It created a mapping between the employee ID coming in from the app to my table. Similarly, I'm going to do the date, and I'm going to do the hours. Once this is done, I can simply go and save, and this is for the project timesheet. I'm going to rename it to enter hours, and you can go ahead and test it. You can either test it. It will also let you debug the BOS. That concludes the recording for the integration builder.